Welcome to Workshop 3 Excel 2010, brought to you by ShiftKey Solutions, and I am Eric Ripley. Okay, in this workshop, we'll be covering formulas, some filtering, themes, conditional formatting, among other things. Okay, what we'll end up doing is taking this list of information here that's raw data basically in our workbook, and we're going to be converting this into this when we're all finished. Okay, let's get started. I'll also be following along step for step in the Workshop 3 instruction sheet, so we'll be covering each step individually. Okay, so step 1 obviously is to download the Workshop 3 Excel file and then format it. So step 2 tells us to apply the opulent theme. Okay, so let's go to the themes where we would find themes, and we're going to find themes in the page layout tab. And here under themes, we'll go and click our themes. Now if I cursor over it, it tells me that the current theme is Office theme. So if I click this drop down here and scroll down to look for opulent, and it's all alphabetically organized, and here it is, opulent. So if I click this, it changes and converts some of the fonts and colors that we'll be using. Step 3 is to merge and center the worksheet title. Well, if we remember that the title is always at the top here, so I'm going to select this range and I'm going to merge and center it. I'm going to go to my Home tab, and then over in my alignment group I'm going to click Merge and Center. Step 4 is to apply the title cell style to A1 and then fill it with orange fill color. So with my A1 selected, I'm going to come over to my Styles group and click my More button for my gallery. I'm going to come over to Title. I click this and it applies it. And then to fill orange in this cell, I'm going to come to my font group and click my drop down arrow for fill color. And I'm going to come down to the standard colors and click orange. Step 5 tells me to format A2 through E110 as a table style dark 10. So in order to do that, as long as I'm clicked absolutely anywhere in this group of information here, if I'm clicked anywhere in here, I'm going to come up to my styles group, click format as a table, and I'm going to come under the dark section here and look for table style dark 10. So if I cursor over these, it tells me what it is. There's dark 2, dark 3, and here's dark 10. So if I click this, it's going to say, great, is this the range you'd like to have? Well, no, I want to modify this to change the A1 to A2 and make sure my table has headers and click OK, and then that's appropriately formatted. Step 6 tells me to freeze the top 2 rows. Well, the top 2 rows are right here, and I want to freeze these. And freeze just means that as I scroll down, they'll remain there at the top. So I'm going to make sure that my active cell is A3. I'm going to come over to my View tab, and then under my Windows group, I'm going to click Freeze Panes. And then right here where it says Freeze Panes, I click this. Now I can scroll down and this will remain at the top. This is pretty convenient when I'm looking at a long list of information. Step 7 tells me to add a total row to my table. Well, in order to do that, I'm going to make sure that I am clicked somewhere in my data here. I'm going to go to my Design tab, and then here in the Table Styles options, I'm going to click Total Row. And when I do, it'll add a total row. If I scroll all the way down, I'll see there is my total row. Step 8 tells me to change the page orientation to Portrait. Well, in order to do that, I'm going to go to my Page Layout tab, go to Orientation, and change it to Portrait. That was easy. Step 9 tells me to horizontally center on page. Well, that just means that my information will print horizontally center on the page. So in order to set that up, I'm going to click my Margins and go down to Custom Margins. And then right here where it says Center on Page, I'm going to click horizontally. Click OK. Step 10 tells me to format the first two rows to print at the top of each page. Well, in order to do that, I'm going to go to my Print Titles button. There's a couple ways of doing it, but this is one of the quick ones. I'm going to click Print Titles, and then here where it says rows to repeat at top, I'm going to click this collapse box, and then click to select row and 2. And then I'm going to click rows 1 and 2 to select that range. Click my expand indicator here, and then click OK. Now to verify that that happened, just to double check my work, I'm going to print preview this, and here's my print preview. If I go to the next page, there it is as well. I'll go back to my home tab, and now we're back. Step 11 tells me to create a custom property named customer ID that uses a number type and has the value of 22,333. Okay, so in order to do that, I'm going to go to my File tab, and then over here under Properties, this is going to show me a summary of my properties currently on here. I'm going to click the Properties and then go to Advanced Properties. From here, in my dialog box, I'm going to go to the Custom tab, and then I'm going to click in the name, and I'm going to create this new one. It's called Customer ID. And then I'm going to change the type as a number, and the value is 22,333. I'm going to add it, and now it's added. I'll click OK. Then I'll go back to my home tab. Step 12 tells me to go to G3 and type in fire. I'm going to press tab, and in H3 I'm going to type police. And then I'll press enter. It takes me below the word fire in G4. Step 13 tells me to create a formula that will count the number of fire in column A. Well, in order to do that, I have to do a count if. So I'll type in the formula for this. I'm going to put in equals count if, and there it is. I'll press tab to accept that, and it formats it for me. Count if, and see down here it says range. What range am I wanting to count? I'm going to type in A3 because that's the beginning of my range, A3 through A110. And then I'm going to put comma and the criteria, because that comma actually means count this range if, and that's what that range means, is if the criteria is fire. Oh, I have to include quotations there, and then I'll press enter, and it counts it. There are 36 fire in that column. Now in H4, I want to count all the police, so I'm going to do the same formula. Equals count if the range is A3 through and then I press enter. Now, if you had this problem here where it has a letter displayed to you, no, that's not exactly what we're looking for. We want to count. So to correct this, we're going to come to our number group up here on the home tab, and then see here where it says the format of it is, it's a date right now. So I'm going to click this drop down and choose general. And when I choose general, it converts it over to the number that we're looking for. Step 15 tells us to adjust the alignment of G3 through H4 to middle and center. So I'm going to select this range. I'm going to come to my alignment group and click middle and center. Step 16 tells me to filter the table to display all classifications for fire and all other calls and dispatched calls. So I'm going to come over to my classification column, click my drop down arrow here, and here are all the instances that are in this column. I want to click the select all just to deselect them all, and then I'm going to start by clicking fire and all other calls, and then also dispatched calls. I'll click OK, and it filters those down. It goes on to tell me to include stations 5 and 6 and precinct 1, 3, and 4. Well, where do I find that other than right here in the location column? So I'm going to click my drop down, click the select all to deselect them, and then choose precincts 1, 3, and 4. Then I'll scroll down and go to stations 5 and 6. And click OK. And now it shortens my list and filters it down to what I'm looking for. Step 17 tells me to sort the table in ascending order by month. Well, here's my month column. I'm going to click my drop down here and choose ascending order, if I remember correctly, is A to Z. Z to A is called descending order. So I'll click sort A to Z, and now it's sort ascending. Now some of us may think, well, that's not ascending because February and then January and March, that's not descending. Well, remember, it's descending order by alphabetically, not chronologically. Okay? Step 18 tells me to apply the above average filter to the number column. So over here, I'm going to click the drop down under number, and then I'm going to go to the number filters. And then I'm going to come down here where it says above average. Click this, and it's going to sort it down to the above average. Step 19 tells me to go to cell G24 right here. Let's see, that's G24, and create a formula that will display high count if E24 is less than 4,700, or display very high count if E24 is greater than 4,700, and then fill down through G96. Okay, so I need to think about what kind of formula I need to use here. It sounds to me like it's an if formula. So I'm going to type in equals if E24 is less than 4,700, then display high count. I have to remember to include my quotations there. Or if E24 is greater than 4,700, then display very high count. And close the parentheses, press enter. And there's my formula. So I'm going to fill this down and go back up to G24, use my fill handle and drag down to G96, and there's my results. So if I deselect it, it's going to look like this. Step number 20 tells me to apply a conditional format to the range of G24 through G96 that will fill orange color to all instances that say high count and red for very high count. Okay, in order to do this, I have to select my range. I'm going to come up to my styles group here and click conditional formatting. And then from here, I'm going to go to the highlight cells rule and come down to say to where text that contains. I'm going to click this. And then from here, I'm going to type in high count. And then I'm going to click the drop down here as to what I want to format it as. I'm going to click custom format. And I want to fill, I'm going to click my fill tab, I want to fill it as orange. Now, as you'll notice, if you cursor over these, you don't get a screen tip like you would on the ribbon. Well, down here, you'll remember these are our standard colors, and this one is orange. There's my sample of it. I'm going to click OK, and then click OK. Now I have to come back to apply the second conditional format. Same steps, text that contains, and then put in very high count. Change this so that it fills with red. Custom format, and here's my red. There's my sample. I click OK, and then click OK and deselect, and there are my results. Step 21 tells me to insert the file name in the bottom left corner of my footer and the current date in the bottom right corner of my footer. So in order to do that, I'm going to go to my Insert tab, go to my header footer group, click OK, and then go to footer, click on the left side, go to file name, click on my right, and click current date. When I'm done with this, I'm going to click the cell just above this and make sure I go to my normal view. And then I'll scroll up, and there are my results. You'll also notice that it unfroze your first 2 rows, which is okay for this exercise. Step 23 tells us to save the workbook and close Excel. Upload this to the Dropbox folder for Workshop 3, and then you're all done. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next workshop.